Hi, my name's Mike. Welcome to MB Percussiveness. Today we're going to talk about tuning your snare drum. Now before we begin, let's talk about the different parts of a snare drum that make up the drum. First of all, as you know, this is what they call the beater head, the top head. The bottom head, they also call the underhead. Some people call it the underneath head. People call it different things. And then this, they call the snare lever. That's the snare lever, and that thing is called the snare knob. And these are what they call the snares on the bottom. So that's all there is, and then there's the shell. Okay, and you have two rims, and then these are called screws. Simple enough, just like real life. So let me just start from the beginning. I'll take these heads off and go from there. Now, the first tip that I want to show you has to do with something everyone has in their house. That's duct tape. You're going to take a piece of duct tape, about maybe a good rule of thumb is to do this, and then that's how long, that's the piece you need. It's about 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches. And you take your drum head, and you put this on across the middle of the drum head, right about where you hit, and they call that the sweet spot. That's kind of what the pros say about that spot. But on the underside of the drum head, not on top. And that's for like jazz. If you're playing rock and roll, you're going to do two. And you do a cross. At least that's the way I've seen it. You do a cross, okay, that helps out a little bit. Once you have your drum head, you have the tape on there. There's an edge around the drum head like this, and that lines up with what they call the bearing edge on your snare drum, the top of the drum. And it's good for this to be able to glide over the shell. And to help that, something that everyone has in their kitchen, cooking spray. This is baking spray. You can see you spray that in a pan or whatever to help. And if you just take this and spray around the inside of the rim of the drum head, before you seat that on the drum, that will help the drum head stretch over the bearing edge. Now, once you've got your drum head with the spray and the tape, you're going to set that over the rim, like so, and line up your lugs. Now you'll notice this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lugs. You can find them sometimes with 10 lugs, sometimes with 6 lugs. 8 lugs is what they call the average, the regular one. It just really depends on, oh, by the way, as I'm going to kind of tighten this as I talk, you just want to screw all the screws in so they're finger tight. The difference the lugs make, the more lugs that are on the drum, the more screws there are, the brighter your snare drum's going to sound. Whereas if I only had, say, 6 lugs, it's going to be more of a dark, maybe more of a dry sound. But this one, like I said, this is the average. That's perfect for my style of playing, is that many lugs. So we'll go ahead and just screw these in finger tight. Okay, now that they're finger tight, take your drum key. This is just a weird drum key. And here's what I do. I start on 1, and then I do 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not, about maybe 6 or 7 turns. Then what you're going to do is go to the one next to it and do 6 or 7 turns. Then you're going to go to the one next to it and do 6 or 7 turns. Okay, and you go all the way around the drum like that. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll come back in a second. Okay, now it's time to start fine-tuning. I've done all the lugs all the way around, and we're going to start fine-tuning. Yeah, actually, I think I got it right on the first time. That never happens. That's exactly like I want it to sound. So let's go ahead and move on to the bottom head. Now, to change the bottom head, what you're going to have to do actually is you have one of 2 ways of doing it. It depends on what kind of snares you have. These are made in China. These are Chinese snares. If you have more of if it's made in Europe, they're actually a little bit stretchier. The springs on the snares are stretchier. You can just pull that up and loosen the head, pull the rim off, the head off, without even taking the snares off of the drum because there's so much spring. These are actually manufactured in China. They're a little bit more rigid. That's how I like them. So we have to actually remove the snares from the drum when we're doing that. So you can do that just right here. You just unscrew the part where the snares go in, and we'll go ahead and do that now, and then I'll take the head off. But one more thing to note, I don't know if you can see this or not, but what I like to do is, if you can see, the third snare is removed. Can you see that? The third or fourth wire in there? I like to remove some of those just because that's how you fine-tune your snare sound. If you play the snare drum the same way that it came from the factory, well, guess what? Everyone else who has the snare drum is going to sound exactly like you, and you don't want that. So you can fine-tune your snare by pulling some of those off. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove these snares and pull the head off, and we'll go from there. Alright, now we've got it to the point where I've untied the snares and loosened all of them. And so you just slide this through like that. Set this aside for a minute because I'm going to show you something that I haven't told many people. This is a secret of mine. Another household item that everyone has. This is going to help people who want to really control the tone of their drum. There are different ways to dampen a drum. Some drums have internal dampers like this one has here. But if you don't have that, all you need is some cornstarch. I know it sounds silly, but you take this cornstarch, and you're going to, this one needs to be opened here. Simply pour the cornstarch into the drum. You're going to do just enough to coat the entire head. Okay? Now what that does is that'll sit, and when I turn this over, that'll sit on the bottom head. And when you hit the drum, all that cornstarch is going to vibrate up off the drum and then land back on the head, killing all the overtones. It's a simple solution. No one ever really knows about that. It's kind of one of those lost hidden secrets that now you know and now you can do, and the other drummers won't know that. Now what I've done here, just for the sake of time, is I went ahead and put the snares back through, put the head on, the rim on, and got all the screws around the underhead to finger tight. That's about where we want it. Now, the thing that I do that's different is instead of doing only 6 or 7 of these turns, I'm going to do more, like 10 to 15 on each lug. And the reason we do this is because it's personal preference, I guess, but I've really just it's just personal preference what you do. I like to have mine. Now we've almost got it to where we've got your 10 or 15 turns. Like I said, what you'd like to have to make it sound good and tight. That one needs some oil, and that should be about it. And a couple more here. Hear how that sounds? That's how we know that it's just right. That drum is going to sound so good when we get it all done. Now you can tighten those snares back up. Now my last step that I like to do, you just need some tape, some little thin tape. You can use masking tape for this or whatever you've got. And you're going to tear a piece and put it across the snares like so. And then do the same thing on the other side. And what this does is tightens up your snare sound so you don't have that really rattly, nasty snare sound. A lot of people don't like that. And you can do this a few more times depending on your taste. Totally up to you. Alright, so now we've learned how to tune the snare drum. I showed you about how to grease up the bearing edges there to help with the head. I showed you the cornstarch secret. Don't tell anyone that I told you how to do that. That'll be your secret. And then we told you how to put those snares on and get them tightened up. Let's give it a test, see how it sounds.